Death's no longer fueled by vengeance, but by fate. There is a thin, trembling line between righteous vengeance and blind fury. And sometimes, the one who holds the blade can no longer tell justice from downfall. Kratos, once a betrayed warrior, killed Ares, the god who turned him into the very monster that destroyed his own family. He killed Poseidon, drowning the world in waves of wrath. He killed Hades, damning countless souls to wander without rest. He killed Helios, and daylight vanished from the earth. But even then, those deaths carried purpose. In this chapter, we descend into something darker. Here, Kratos no longer kills because he must. He kills because he doesn't know how to stop. He no longer fights for justice. He fights because he has gone too far to turn back. Hermes, when speed couldn't save an empty heart. In myth, Hermes was the youthful, witty god, untouched by the brutal power games of Olympus. He was the divine messenger, the guide of souls, the patron of thieves and merchants alike. In God of War, Hermes is not a terrifying god. He carries no world-shattering weapon, no thunderbolt or deathly scythe like Zeus or Hades. But he wields something else, a silver tongue and feet that no one could catch. A mocking, arrogant Hermes. When Kratos entered the city of Olympia, Hermes didn't fight with strength. He fought with taunts. Kratos, the haunted warrior. You never tire of destroying everything around you, do you? He darted through the ruined plazas, laughing like a jester on a crumbling stage. He believed his speed made him untouchable, that as long as he ran, Kratos could never catch him. But Hermes forgot one thing. Kratos doesn't play tag. He plays punishment. The final chase. This wasn't a battle of gods. No lightning cracked. No mountains fell. Only the sound of feet skimming rooftops, the echo of cruel laughter, and the breath of a predator drawing closer. Kratos chased Hermes across collapsing temples and broken statues through the dying heart of Olympus. And finally, he grabbed Hermes by the ankle, slammed him to the ground like a rag doll. And then, as always, he didn't stop. Kratos severed the god's swift legs, without hesitation, without mercy. It wasn't just an execution. It was the erasure of Hermes' only gift. Hermes screamed. He begged. But Kratos didn't listen. He stomped. He crushed. And when it was done, he took the boots of Hermes and moved on. Divine blood spilled, but it carried something worse, plague. From Hermes' corpse, something darker flowed than divine ichor, a disease. With Hermes gone, the sacred link between gods and mortals was broken. No more divine messages. No more guidance. No protection. But worse than silence came sickness. From Hermes' remains, rot spread like wildfire. Those who had survived the tidal waves, the quakes, and the storms, now withered from within. Flesh decaying, eyes clouding, minds unraveling. There was no more light. No more rest for the dead. And soon, no one strong enough to survive. Why did Hermes have to die? Hermes didn't kill, but he laughed at the ruins of the world. He danced above human suffering. He mocked a soul tormented by grief. Kratos didn't kill Hermes because he was powerful. He killed him because Hermes treated the apocalypse like a joke. And in a dying world, those who laugh at pain do not deserve to live. Hera, when a queen had nothing left but contempt. Once, Hera was the sacred emblem of marriage, of womanhood, of divine royalty. But that was in another age, when Olympus still stood tall, and Zeus still ruled like an untouchable king. When Kratos arrived, Hera was no longer the radiant queen seated on a golden throne. She was a drunken, staggering shadow, cloaked in bitterness and loathing. The queen who became a ghost of herself. Hera didn't fight. She didn't scream. She spoke, poison. Kratos, you make me sick. You killed your own family. You destroyed Olympus. And soon, you'll kill even hope, because you don't know how to stop. She wasn't wrong. But Kratos didn't argue. He looked at her, the once immaculate eyes of divine power now sunken, clouded by wine and ash. There was no battle, no weapons drawn. Kratos simply reached out and wrapped his hand around her throat. Hera struggled, not out of fear for her life, but because a filthy mortal dared lay hands on her. And then a quiet crack echoed through the garden. Hera collapsed, and the flowers around her withered. Hera was the silent force behind nature's bloom, the protector of fertility, the breath of green life. With her fall, The world's last heartbeat of growth stopped. The aftermath, a world where nothing grows. After Hera's death, everything ceased to flourish. Leaves refused to sprout. Fields dried into dust. No more blossoms. No more harvest. No war. No gods. No seasons. Only hunger. And silence. With Hera's death, Kratos didn't just end a goddess. He ended the final hope that something new could ever grow again. Why did Hera have to die? Hera didn't hate Kratos because he killed gods. She hated him because he unmade the divine order she had spent eternity protecting. She didn't fight him. She didn't try to stop him. She just poured out her last venom, wanting to see the world burn with her. Kratos didn't kill Hera because she was a threat. He killed her because a dying world doesn't need one more curse. And as he walked away, Hera's corpse lay in a wilted garden, a heartbreaking symbol of divine ruin. No swords, no thunder, just a man who once believed in justice, now believing in nothing at all. Cronos, when even time couldn't escape its past. Cronos was not just a titan. He was an entire era, the ruler of the old world, long before Zeus, Hades, or Poseidon ever took their thrones. But after the Titanomachy, Cronos was overthrown by his own children and cast into Tartarus, the deepest, darkest pit of all realms, where the unforgivable rot in eternal silence. In God of War, Cronos is no longer a distant myth. He is a living mountain, a titan so massive, his very body becomes a battlefield. Kratos was once dust in the palm of Cronos. In God of War 2, Kratos once stood upon the very hand of Cronos, sent there by Gaia. Back then, Cronos was still shackled in Tartarus, dragging the temple of Pandora on his back as punishment. And when he saw Kratos again, he remembered, "You, the insect Gaia once brought to me. Now you return to kill me." Cronos, unlike the arrogant gods before him, did not crave death. He wanted to survive. He fought like a god with something to lose, swatting Kratos like a fly, swallowing him whole, crushing him between fingers as wide as towers. But time cannot outlast vengeance. A battle waged on the body of a titan. There has never been a battlefield more colossal than Cronos himself. Kratos fought on his hands, inside his mouth, through his stomach. He climbed bones, pierced stone like flesh, drove blades through ribs and sinew. Every strike a sentence, every wound a reckoning. And finally, as Cronos screamed and thrashed, Kratos drove the blade of Olympus up through his jaw, pinning the ancient titan into the floor of Tartarus. A god of time fell, not because he was weak, but because the past always demands its price. The death of an era. When Cronos died, time did not stop. It lost direction. The cosmos warped. Seasons crumbled. Day and night blurred. Children were born without age. The old could no longer die. The death of Cronos shattered the linear flow of time. And Kratos, though victorious, began to age in his mind, minute by minute, thought by thought. He hadn't just killed a titan. He had broken the rhythm that kept the universe coherent. Why did Cronos have to die? Cronos once swallowed his own children, driven by the fear that they would rise against him. He was the embodiment of blind power, paranoia, and a cycle of blood. A father killing his sons, sons killing their fathers, endlessly repeating. Kratos did not kill Cronos out of vengeance. He killed him to end the curse of inheritance, to break the bloodline of fear. If I don't end you, then one day, someone will end me, just as I ended Zeus. And in that moment, as Kratos stood over a fallen god of time, he saw his own reflection in a pool of titan blood. Zeus, when a father's blood was no longer human. Zeus, the supreme ruler of Olympus, the god upon the throne of thunder. He who struck down Cronos, imprisoned the titans, forged a new divine order, and stood as the eternal king among gods. To the world, Zeus was power incarnate, calculated, commanding, and cloaked in the illusion of protection. But to Kratos, Zeus was betrayal. He was father. He was the final target, the unhealed wound that no river of blood could ever wash clean. Kratos once served Ares, but when he grew too strong, Zeus grew afraid, just as Cronos had once feared him. And so Zeus did what gods always do. He betrayed. You were never meant to exist, Kratos. You are a plague, a mistake. Zeus, before driving the blade of Olympus through his own son. To Kratos, it wasn't just a blade. It was erasure. A father's declaration that the blood flowing in Kratos' veins was unworthy of recognition. From that moment on, Kratos stopped seeking approval. He began seeking an end. A battle between heaven and earth, between hatred and blood. This was not just the final battle of God of War 3. It was the reckoning between a father who ruled through lies and a son who demanded justice through blood. Zeus wielded the blade of Olympus. Kratos wielded hope, the one gift left to him by Pandora, the girl crushed by the very gods she once believed in. Their war shattered Olympus, tore into the earth, and descended into Kratos' mind. A storm of voices, Athena's manipulation, the screams of a murdered family, the cries of a daughter he couldn't save. Until finally, Kratos sat atop Zeus' chest, and he punched, fist after fist. No music, just the sound of bone breaking, flesh tearing, rage echoing, until Zeus' face was no longer a face at all. The world after Zeus fell. With Zeus gone, Olympus lost its crown. The skies held no thunder. The winds stopped blowing. The storms ceased to come. There were no laws, no judgment, no one to rule. And yet, no one rejoiced. Because the world wasn't freed. It was silenced. Kratos realized. Killing Zeus didn't bring peace. It didn't erase the past. It didn't save what had already been lost. And when Athena appeared, demanding the hope that Pandora had passed to him, Kratos looked her in the eye and said, "I owe you nothing." Why did Zeus have to die? Because he was the architect of every betrayal. Because he used order as a weapon to devour freedom. Because he was a father, but never a parent. And because Kratos, if he ever wanted rebirth, had to kill the bloodline that created him and cursed him. Zeus didn't die because he was a bad god. He died because he was the last thing standing between Kratos and liberation. When legends are no longer fairy tales, Kratos killed the gods. But what he truly destroyed was faith. From Ares, the god of war who sparked a tragedy, to Poseidon, who drowned resistance with the weight of the sea. From Hades, the warden of souls, to Helios, whose light was torn from the sky. Hermes, mockery wrapped in youth. Hera, a shattered dream of divine royalty. Cronos, the monstrous past that refused to die. And finally, Zeus, his father, king of the heavens, and the living symbol of a cursed bloodline. Each one fell, not merely because Kratos was stronger, but because they had long planted the seeds of their own downfall, through pride, betrayal, and lies. And those very lies turned Kratos from a father, a husband, a warrior, into the shadow of the very gods he would one day kill. In the end, Kratos did not win. He survived. And sometimes, that is the greater torment. Olympus fell. The gods were gone. The world lay in ruin. But for the first time, mankind lived without a god's foot pressing down on its throat. The legend of Kratos is not a tale of a hero, nor is it the rise of a monster. It is a final warning. Wherever you stand, on the mountaintop, in the abyss, or lost within rage, all power comes with a price, and every god can fall. Thank you for following this journey. The gods Kratos killed, and why they had to die. If this series moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as we continue exploring the next chapters, from Norse mythology, to the forgotten titans, to Ragnarok itself, and the fate of a Kratos who no longer bleeds, but lives on through legacy. See you again in the next chapter of the greatest tragedy of our time, a chapter not even the gods can rewrite.